Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Ew, excuse me, I'm reaching over for my notes here. Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Well, we are updating this network presentation. You might be wondering, Ronnie, didn't you already upload this? Well, I actually had to take that down because I was muted. My microphone was muted. So I talked 35 minutes nonstop for nothing, basically. So that's okay. We're going to try this again. Um, so yeah, take two, I guess you could call it. So this is if Ronnie Vadine owned his own TV network, which I kind of already do, but just this is looking down the road kind of here for RVN. This is a redo of a video I did on December 29th, 2021. So I've came up with a whole lot of new ideas that I think are really gonna make the network pop off here. So in a good way. So yeah, we'll get started out with the types of program on my network. And by the way, I have flipped a few slides around just so yeah, just so you know. So some things about the network. Oh, those two should be flipped, but that's okay. We've already got the name, because it's been like that for how long now. You already know what it features because this will be nothing different. Original programming, reruns of TV shows, news programming, sports, etc. It'll be more of a streaming network. Now, at the time, I kind of wanted it to be like an over-the-air network type of thing or like on cable. However, I think streaming obviously will be the better source for that. Although I will look to help from the networks. What I want to do is stream it here on YouTube and have it be like, like a regular NBC, ABC type of network, except for it would just be on YouTube, strictly on YouTube. However, I think if we are able to do that, and I'm able to team up with YouTube for this, obviously we're going to look to, some of those networks for, their guidance and stuff because they've been doing it for 70 to almost 100 years. So they're experts at this and we're not. So yeah, that'll basically be what the network will be about. Now, here are the types of programming we will have here on RVN. The Saturday/Sunday show. So, depending on which day of the weekend it is, these shows will air. It'll kind of be like the UK TV show This Morning. If you've ever seen that, it's kind of like the Today Show, just without all the news, or they kind of have interviews based on some news. It's kind of like a human interest slash news magazine slash, kind of. Yeah, there's a wide variety of things, but that'll be on Saturdays and Sundays to start your days. It'll air in the morning. So, yeah. And then Sunday we'll have all the EI programs. So, yeah. And then weekdays here on RVN will consist of game shows, soap operas, talk shows, court shows, the usual daytime fare for the last 70 years, basically. So, yeah, and then our flagship show will be The Ronnie Show, which is a 4-hour talk show I will host. I'll get to more on that here in a second. Well, in fact, no, I'll talk about it right now. So, how I want to do The Ronnie Show is the first hour, well, it'll air from noon. Well, yeah, it'll air from noon to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So the first hour will be kind of like a Tonight Show, just in the daytime, with a monologue, couple of celebrity interviews, a game or two, musical performance, etc., like that. And the 1 p.m. Eastern hour will consist of our tabloid talk show. So it'll be a mix of Jerry, Maury, Ricky, Sally, who else? Geraldo. Um, so yeah, basically all those shows from the 90s. However, we're gonna not exploit people. That's all I'm gonna say. I think we can do topics on those shows without exploiting people. So that's what we're going to do. That'll basically be the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot. And then from 2 to 4 Eastern time will be a sports slash pop culture type talk show. It'll mainly consist of sports talk, but if it's a boring sports news day or whatever, then it'll kind of be more like pop culture type stuff. So I'd say about 80-20 in that fashion. And then Saturday morning, we will have Saturday morning cartoons, classic Americana on television, I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, and then the afternoons on Saturdays and Sundays, it's going to be reruns of various programs, unless, well, I'll explain more here in a second. Primetime programming. Now, our flagship show will be Gigantic the Series. So, this will consist of not only all of the sporting events, well, yeah, all the sporting events we cover here, but my plan to do for this show is going to be, and I've discussed this before, for 1 hour, we'll have the usual 1 hour pregame show like every network does before a game, except for having like sports analysis and stuff like that. And like the first 5 or 10 minutes will be doing that, but the rest of the show will just be having fun little activities like, celebrity interviews, people's panel, games, celebrities, interviews, musical performances, stuff like that. It'll really be a big, giant variety show. And then we'll have the actual game take place. And then the post game, it'll be like around 20 minutes long, but we'll have basically, if you've seen the show here on my channel, it'll basically be that. We'll recap some scores from across the country, recap the game. We'll have a song of the night, the big performance of the night, and then we'll have the $1 million game. So yeah, and then afterwards on our social media pages, we will have Gigantic After Show, which basically is more of like an analysis of the night, recap of the night type of thing, plus some other fun stuff as well. And then every night on the schedule is going to be dedicated to a specific genre of TV. At least I'm going to try and make it that way. Our talent/singing competition show will air on Wednesday and Thursdays. Game shows will be on Tuesday nights. Wednesday nights will have comedies. Monday nights will be our news magazine type of shows. Thursday nights will be our dramas. Sundays will have some special programming, which I'll show you shortly. And then our specials for throughout the year. We'll have 4 to 5 specials a year of Test the Nation. We'll have 2 to 4 specials of Pepsi's Play for a Billion. That'll be a big sponsorship right there of this network, Pepsi, because, $4 billion potentially they could be giving away in a single year. So then we'll have an RVN summer kickoff, which will basically be like a 5-hour show to kick off the summer in the evening. I want to do it on like the first day of summer, but pretty much right when school gets out, like that mid to late May period. That's truly, I think, when summer starts for a lot of people. So if we can air it then, that will be helpful. And then I had this big, bold idea. So ABC, to celebrate the new millennium with Peter Jennings anchoring it, they had this big celebration. They had anchors from across the world. They had correspondents across the world, and they covered how everybody was celebrating the new millennium because, Y2K, that was a big thing. Whoops, sorry, because that was such a big thing. At the time, and I was thinking it started at 4:50 in the morning and it went till 4 a.m. in the morning Eastern time, and I thought, well, what if we do that for every single year? Do a big 24-hour show every single year, and do it like that. So that's what we're going to do. However, it'll start at 4:50 a.m. Eastern time, and we're gonna go all the way through until I think it's about 8:30 a.m. Eastern time when the last country, Samoa, celebrates the new year. So yeah, that'll be exciting. And then our marathons, we'll still have all of our marathons. We will add a couple too. We did do a back to school one year, but we never brought it back, I don't think. And then we'll do the birthday, the Halloween, the Thanksgiving, Christmas/New Year's, Valentine's, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, 4th of July, etc. And you might be thinking, Ronnie, what about the shows you're doing right now? Unfortunately, once we create this into a full network, I won't be hosting those shows anymore, and they won't all be canceled. We'll just we'll kind of do a format like we're doing now, where we might have 4 games on for a period of 3 to 4 months, if that makes sense. And we'll have like actual contestants and stuff like that. So yeah, however, you're going to see with the sports how that might be affected somewhat. So yeah, in fact, we're going to go take a look at what the skeleton version of the schedule is going to look like right now. Okay, so this is basically the skeleton version of what the schedule is going to look like. So we'll start off on Sunday morning and we'll go um, across the week. So it'll start off Sunday morning. Well, each morning will start off at 6 a.m. Eastern Time with RVN Morning News. And then on Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we will have our EI block of shows. And then at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have a show called Politics Weekly. So it's just going to be our version of Meet the Press or Face the Nation or any of those other shows that air around that time every Sunday morning. And then at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, that will be the Sunday show. As you can see, that'll run from 11 to 1. And then the rest of the afternoon is basically going to be reruns of, shows, basically. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have the RVN Evening News. We'll have that 7 days a week. So yeah, and then at 6:30 we'll go back to the reruns, and then Sunday nights. The reason why I call it special programming is because these two shows that are airing, RVN People's Panel and Ronnie Vadine's Life Stories, they won't be airing every Sunday night. The RVN People's Panel, if like a big event happens in the world, then we'll get varying sides of it and from the public, and we'll put them sitting at a table and basically discussing it, debating, stuff like that. And then at 9 o'clock, we will have Ronnie Vadine's Life Stories. Now, basically what that will be is celebrities, basically, celebrity interviews. If you've ever seen Piers Morgan's Life Stories or, once he left, Kate Garraway's in the UK, it's basically going to be that. 6 episodes a year, all in a row. So yeah, that'll air 6 weeks out of the air, basically. So, yeah. And then Ronnie Vadine's Dateline RVN at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That will air every Sunday night with me at the helm. And that'll just be, if you go all the way back to when Dateline first started back in 1992, and kind of like with all, like 2020, Prime Time on ABC, basically those shows, how their formats, that'll basically be. So it'll be kind of like a consumer type show. Yeah, so I'll kind of have, but instead of, actually delivering on the news, you'll kind of hear more of my commentary. So yeah, and then at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, we'll have the RVN News at night. And then, well, that'll air at 11:30, as you can see, on all the rest of the nights of the week, because we have to make room at 11:30 Eastern Time for RVN Sunday Night Live. If you look on the TV schedule, there is no late night offerings Sunday nights on any network you look at. So we will do that. It'll be a 95-minute long show. There might be a sketch or two in the show, but there will be, musical performances, game shows, talent stuff, and, kind of a wide variety of things, actual variety. Because when you look at the term variety show, it's mainly, well, throughout television history, they mainly only have like comedy sketches and musical performances and stuff like that. That's not really a variety show. That's kind of just based on one topic. It might have a variety of music and sketches on a variety of topics, but that's not truly a variety show, in my opinion. And then at 1:05 Eastern Time, we will have the sign off. So, for those of you who don't know, in the 70s, well, really when television started, going through until at the latest the mid 90s, television stations, instead of showing the news all night like they do now, like Early Today and stuff like that, they would just go off the air. Like the screens would go black, or you'd get the colored bars, or what have you. And what they would do is, they would start off by saying, "Oh, thanks for, tuning in to such a wonderful day of programming here." And it would have a statement like, oh, the views and opinions expressed on the programming today don't necessarily reflect the views of the station or whatever. And most of the time after that, they would play the national anthem. So yeah, that's basically, and the sign off segment would last about 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes 3.5 to 4, when you include all those other things. So yeah. And then that takes us to Monday. Once again, it'll start off with the RVN morning news, and then at 8 a.m. Eastern time, breakfast time. So if you watched FX in the mid-90s, you may have saw this show if you watched in the morning. It was hosted by Tom Bergeron and Lori Hibbard, Lori Gelman now. But basically, they had a puppet, and they had a funny voiceover artist, and they had a chicken for the mascot, and they basically did a whole bunch of things. And it wasn't really, I think they'd like to say it was scripted, but, there wasn't really a time in terms of when they had to do segments and stuff like that. They just kind of did it willy-nilly, and that was such a great format, great opposition to the news as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. Which is why we're airing the morning news, kind of when all the local stations are on. So, yeah. And then starting at 10 a.m., that's when our daytime programming starts with the game shows, the soap operas, the talk shows, the court shows. And I think we'll have an hour for each one, basically, because we have the 10 a.m., the 11 a.m. At noon, that's when the Ronnie show starts, and then at 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. too. So we'll figure that once we get all the programs all figured out. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have the RVN evening news. And then at 6:30, you'll have Ronnie's news, which is basically my thoughts and opinions on the news of the day. Now, we're not going to do any political stuff, at least on the programs that I will be on, just because I don't really like discussing politics at all. There's too many fights, and it's too decisive nowadays to talk about in a reasonable, conscious sense that we're not even going to touch it. So, yeah, basically just, kind of like pop culture news and other things, I find interesting to talk about, basically. So that'll be at 6:30 Eastern time. And then 7 p.m. is when all of our primetime programming starts. And we'll be on for 4.5 hours worth of primetime program. So as you can see, Monday night, we'll have 4.5 hours of news magazines. Tuesday night, 4.5 hours of game shows. We'll have talent show and comedies on Wednesday nights for 4.5 hours, a talent show and dramas for 4.5. You get what I'm saying here. And this is Monday through Thursday. And then at 11:30 Eastern time, we'll have the RVN news at night. Yes. And then at 12 a.m. Eastern time, we'll have RVN late night. That'll be kind of a variety of things as well, kind of like RVN Sunday Night Live, but we won't go as all out. And, so yeah. And then at 1 a.m., that's when the sign-off happens. Now, Friday, it's pretty much a normal daytime week, 5-day-a-week schedule up until 6:30. Because that's kind of, even though it has the RVN evening news at 6 o'clock and then Ronnie's news at 6:30, it really will depend on what the sports calendar looks like. As you can see, we have Gigantic Friday for most, if not every, because pretty much every Friday we'll be on with some sporting event, because the Muskies will be playing, we'll be broadcasting the X's, and we'll go all over that here in a second. But yeah, so that'll basically take up all of Friday night, up until 11:30. And the RVN news at night here might start a little bit early, depending on how long the game goes. And if that's the case, it might be extended by, say, 10 or 15 minutes and beyond for like 45 minutes. And then RVN late night will air at its regular time at midnight Eastern time. The only time I think the RVN news at night will start later than 11:30 Eastern time is mainly in April, May, and early June, because that's when the playoffs start, and playoff games can sometimes, in any sport, go forever. So, yeah, that's really the only time the RVN news at night would start later, pretty much. So, yeah, and then at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we have RVN late night at its regular time, and then at 1 o'clock is the sign-off. So that'll take us to Saturday, starting off at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll have RVN Morning News again. And then at 8 a.m. will be Saturday Morning Cartoons. And then at 10 a.m., that's when the reruns start. Or I haven't decided yet, but that could be an extra hour of RVN Saturday Morning Cartoons. So, yeah. And then at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have the Saturday show. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to put on American Bandstand, brand new episodes of that. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. And then 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have RVN Sports Beat. That'll be hosted by me. It's kind of like, if you can remember back in the mid 80s, if you're old enough, if you can remember on ABC, I don't know if it aired every week. I don't think it did, just based on the TV schedules I've seen in the promos. They kind of aired on various points during the weekend, but Howard Cosell hosted a show that was basically like a Real Sports with Brian Gumbel before that became popular in the mid 90s. But this show was in the mid 80s. They kind of went through, or Howard Cosell gave his opinion on certain elements in sports and did interviews and stuff like that. So that'll be hosted by me. So if you can't tell, we'll have the Ronnie Show from noon to 4 on Monday through Fridays to give my opinions. And then we have the Forum on Saturday with RVN Sports Beat, and then Sunday night with Dateline. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to hear my opinions. Now, after that, we will have reruns of network/syndicated shows. And then I have here at 6 o'clock the RVN Evening News. Now, I have decided that we're going to do a Saturday edition of Ronnie's News too, if I am broadcasting a game that night, which will more than likely be every single Saturday night, 52 weeks a year. So if that's the case, then we'll be on the air with that, and depending on when the game starts, because if it's a 7 p.m. Eastern start, like it mainly is for the X's and the with the X's and the Muskies, then we'll get started with that then probably. Well, the pregame show would start at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which means, and we might even flip the Ronnie's News and RVN Evening News, so the Ronnie's News would air at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and then RVN Evening News would start at 5:30, like that. So, yeah, obviously I haven't completely figured out yet the logistics of that. I will once we get to that. So, yeah, and then after that, that's when Gigantic Saturday will start. Like I said, we'll pretty much have sporting events every single Saturday night, or even the RVN Summer Kickoff. That could go on a Saturday night, too, as well. So, yeah. So basically, and the reason why, I'll get to this now while it's fresh in my mind. The reason why Gigantic the Series is our flagship show is because it'll probably air more days of the week besides Friday and Saturday and Sunday afternoons during football season, obviously. That is because my plan for Gigantic the Series is to broadcast, well, all four of the professional, the major league sports, but along with college basketball, college football, and we might even add college softball and college baseball. Now, don't take my word for that just yet, but that might be the plan, at least for now. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. So that'll be the plan. And then we will also cover the Bandits and the X's and the Muskies. That won't stop, at least for quite a while. And I will also call my former high school's football, basketball games for sure, and maybe even volleyball, soccer, and softball and baseball. I'm not, like I said, don't quote me on that yet. Volleyball probably for sure. The other sports, God only knows on that. So, yeah, and the reason why I say that is because Tuesday nights, well, most, if not every single Tuesday night, will be affected by that, and Thursday nights, that might be affected too as well, at least from like the soccer side of things, because that's how the games are scheduled for high school. So yeah, that'll be affected as well. And once we get to the X's season, pretty much every single night of the week, the schedule will be affected by that, obviously, because we'll have a game to call. If that's the case, what we will probably do is that we'll still create those new episodes, but we'll just put them out pre-filmed on YouTube at, the times they would regularly schedule be aired, except, you wouldn't see them on the live feed, basically. So, yeah, that's probably what we'll do for that if the schedule is affected. The talent shows, and that's where I'm kind of most worried about that, because if you know the format of a talent show here in the US or a singing competition show, it airs for 2 hours one night for like performances and stuff like that. And then they also have an hour-long results show the next night on the Monday night. So at least that's how it's been. I've noticed a lot of shows, like I think American Idol, basically, I don't think they air any, well, ever since coming to ABC. They used to do Sunday nights and Monday nights, but I think they just do Sunday nights and then they'll do Monday night shows for special things, but not like any results. And then I think, well, America's Got Talent, that's basically what they did this year for their, but it was just for their finale. All the rest of them just did, the Tuesday and Wednesday nights. So, and that's just because, with the shift in television now, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. I think The Voice this upcoming season, they're only going to be airing for 1 hour on Monday nights, which will kind of, I mean, they'll start out at 2 hours, but then they'll drop down to 1 hour because I think of comedies, and I think Jimmy Fallon has a reality TV show coming up, another one, because they couldn't renew That's My Jam, which is such a good show. But yeah, that'll basically be what'll happen with that. Yeah, sorry, I got way off topic there. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say. The daytime programming, at least during the weekdays, that should stay where it is no matter what, unless the X's play. For an example, Thursday, they'll play, as I'm filming this, they might have already done this as, this is released. I'm filming this on a Tuesday, July 8th. They might play a game in the morning at noon Eastern time, which they'll do on Thursday. And in that case, we wouldn't have the Ronnie show that day. So, yeah, it really all depends on what the sports schedule looks like. And the sports schedule is going to have a lot of effect on what the primetime slate will look like. Obviously, I want to have one night of or one night for one genre of television every night, but that might not happen, just based off of, based off of whatever sports we're broadcasting. And the sports programs will mainly those will mainly be on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. We won't, well, and Tuesdays too. But the rest of the nights, we're not going to do any, unless it's like the postseason, because then my plan will be, well, or the X's, because, well, and we might not even do that. I think we'll just stick to what the regular schedule is like now, where we'll do for the playoffs, where we do the games on the weekends, and then if there's an elimination game during the week, we'll maybe do that. But like I said, it really depends on, there's a whole lot of logistics that'll go into making up this schedule. And for the first couple of months of the network, it'll pretty much all be reruns. That's kind of the plan. I mean, like our news shows, like the ones highlighted in red, those will be live. The Ronnie show, that will be live. Ronnie Vadine's Dateline RVN, that will be live. The ABC Sports programs, those will be live as well. Those will still all be on, but like the first couple of months, we're just going to do all reruns strictly just so that, we can, have some extra cash to produce all these other shows in prime time. And because we have to hire all these camera crews and production staff, because on average there will probably be between 4 to 5 shows a night, and there's probably a crew of 50 to 60 on each show. That's 300 people times by 4, that's 1,200 people we would need to hire: actors, actresses, producers, executive producers, directors, etc. And that's not even including the daytime shows too as well. So yeah, obviously we have to get funding for that somehow, and the ad revenues obviously will help us out with that, especially for the Ronnie show as well. So I'd say hopefully by the end of 6 months, the first 6 months with this format, we will have enough money in order to create all original programs every single night of the week. So yeah, that'll kind of be the plan. We might do RVN or Ronnie Vadine's Life Stories and the RVN People's Panel. Those might be new. Not 100% sure yet. And the Sunday and Saturday show, those will be premiering too. But yeah, everything else, I think for the first 6 months, I'm hoping 6 months will kind of all be reruns. So yeah, just if you're wondering why that is, we'll link you back to this video basically. So yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, and obviously what I'll plan to do with my life trajectory here is I think for the first 5 to 10 years, I think I'll just do like, regular work, obviously. There's this YouTuber I watch, her name is Clancy Burke, and basically she was in TV news for 5 years, and she was actually making more money doing YouTube, so and social media. So now she's doing all that full time, and she's got a family, and her life's going great. And that's kind of how I want to do it too. That's kind of how I want to do things. So I'll probably work 5 to 10 years. During that time, I'll kind of pitch this around to YouTube and see if we can get help from the network executives and stuff like that. Or hey, if somebody who works from YouTube watches this, I mean, if you want to give me a call right now, that would be great. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, this will be a project, like I said, about 10, 15 years down the line here. So in about 2035 to 2040. So yeah, because obviously I'll need to gain subscribers and stuff. Although the Ronnie Show, I think that will be the only program that I think will keep on. I think once I graduate from college and I start actually doing broadcasting play-by-play games and getting paid for it, then I'll probably start doing like a 5 a week show live here on YouTube. Although it probably won't be for the 4 hours long, as you can see it already is. It'll probably only be for one, maybe two at the most. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of factors, a lot of logistics, and I'm prepared to deal with any kind of situations for this network, because I think something like this can succeed. I really think it can. We just need to get the right people behind it and the right people on it in front of the camera. So yeah, that'll help as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Bye bye.